Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. Hope everybody's well. Hope you're all having a fantastic week. VGC and I see the custom theme music is going to be a thing now. I've been doing it forever, mate. I often change the music up depending upon what we're doing. How is everybody? How the devil are you all? Let's have a little look. See what we got in the chat tonight. We are obviously, you can tell by the intro music there and by the thumbnail, we're going to be painting some of the Bayou gremlins for Malifaux tonight, or certainly one of them anyway. Peter, hello to me. Says see you at 8:30. Hello, Peter. If you're there, you were nice and early. Peter Cooman as well. That was Peter Nicholas, I should say. Peter Cooman. Good evening to you. Hello, Marcus, the Super Pumpkin Man. Hello to Blizzards as well. Says all those party peoples. Green Stuff Games. Hello, Josie. Long time no speak. I hope you are well. We got Tiberius Wallace in. Good evening, sir. How are you doing? We also Peter's asking for some popcorn this evening. If I could hand some popcorn over, mate, I would hand some over. I don't have any as it happens. Nigel Jones. Good evening to you, matey. Peter says sarsaparilla for the whole raggedy bunch of y'all. Oh, I need a drink now. I just said that. I don't know about sarsaparilla, but I am. I'm on this fine thing tonight. So as you know, health-wise, I need to kind of. I've been curbing a few things, so I've gone for the Guinness 0%. Now I had one of these the other day, and I must admit, I was highly surprised with just how good it was. This is not an advert. This is not sponsored, but it's foaming out the top of the can now. It is very nice, actually, surprisingly. So it lets me think I'm joining you all for a nice little cheeky beer while keeping an eye on my health. What else we got here? Please ask us in the music of my people. VGS, yeah, but of course the music. Andrew Fairbanks says, "What up, creepers?" Hello, Christian Rees as well. How you doing, fella? Frederick Schultz, hello to you. Phil Wilkinson, nice to see you as well, mate. VGS says, "I'm in not early enough to notice with daylight savings." Maybe that's the case, mate. Maybe it's just the odd. I don't tend to leave the kind of like the intro music playing too long. I know some channels like they like a bit of like a 15-minute kind of like intro type thing with the timer ticking down while they wait for people to come in and let the chat have a bit of a chat. But I've always thought like kind of like I start on time at 8:30 or 9 o'clock for the Mondays. I kind of give it a minute or so just to kind of let everybody know that it's starting, and then I just sit and chat for a bit. Like it's daft me kind of like just letting you all just chat in the chat to a blank screen kind of thing. Might as well just come and say hello. Where are we up to here? Ian Webb, good evening to you, sir. Tasty Brain Drain, hello as well. Tiberius says, "My goodness, my Guinness." I do like a Guinness. I'll be honest, mate. I do like a Guinness. But I'm quite digging the alcohol-free stuff. My brother-in-law gave me a load of alcohol-free stuff to try that he bought. So he gave me a couple of cans of Guinness. That's the second one. That's quite nice. He gave me a couple of cans of Hogarten 0.0, which was actually really nice as well. He gave me a couple of cans of, I think it's called Nanny State, which is the Brewdog one. I've drank one of those. It was okay. It wasn't. It tasted. I don't really think that one tasted as much like beer. Was there anything else? He gave me a couple of bottles of, I think it's Leffy's as well, but I must admit I've not opened those ones yet. Frantic, good evening to you, mate. Hello, Palmsy. Frederick says, "Sell out, chill. Sold out a Guinness. If Guinness want to pay me, I will happily sell out the Guinness for free product." Pusey says, "Is it okay to drink beer tonight? If so, I'm opening another can." You can drink whatever you like, mate. I'm joining you in a drink tonight, but I'm just not going. I'm not going with the alcoholic version. That's all. Not stock. Good evening to you, matey boy. And Peter said it's fine by here. I'm only allowed 1 or 2 a week. I've been trying to kind of just more for to kind of like watch my waistline. Basically, I've been trying to rein it back. So, cheers, folks. Anyway, tonight, what are we painting? This is what we're painting tonight. Let me flick over to this wonderful screen. This is what we're painting tonight. So this is the Rooster. It's a model for Malifaux. It's from the Bayou Gremlins box. It's also one of the characters from the Bayou Bash game as well. So a couple of weeks ago we started painting this one. I always leave the bases until last so I can basically paint all of the bases at the same time. So there's 4 of them in the box set. This one's kind of 90% done. A few little bits to tidy up, but the base needs finishing off. So that's one of them in that box set. We also have this one as well, which is the gremlin riding the bunny rabbit, which we've not put any paint to that one yet, so we might get that one in another session. And then the last one in the set as well is this. Is it a Valgeist? I think it is. This kind of like tree sort of person thing with a little gremlin riding on the top there. So those are the ones in the set. Tonight we're painting up this crazy creature here. Well, Ed Handley, good evening to you, mate. Just saying the 0% beers are quite nice, especially if you put a couple of shots of vodka in them. I think that kind of defeats the object. Martin says now all his freshwater coats is out of the way. Time to work on his October painting challenge. Your freshwater coats looked awesome, mate. Thank you for sharing those. Tiberius says Guinness makes me have great jobbies in the morning. It's quite disconcerting. Well, I've also been taking iron tablets as well, mate, which has that effect anyway, so I don't notice it with the Guinness. Andrew says he's got sick this weekend after getting drunk watching LSU use 8 shots of bourbon in 5 hours. 8 shots in 5 hours. That's not getting drunk. And he's saying he's thought it was going nuts, but now the wife is sick too. Where are we up to here? Right, that chicken. Vinny says it's a bit early for drinking here, but I'll be having a few frosty ones later. I can imagine that. You get a free pass, mate, bearing in mind it's about 6:30 in the morning. Blizz is saying he's got a bit of the 4 on the table. What a coincidence. What are you painting, Blizz? Let me know what you're painting, fella. So we are going to start with some of the chicken skin here. I'm going to start with a lilac colour. It's not going to finish lilac, but I want to kind of start with this to put down as a bit of a base coat. I'm going to mix a little bit of rathbone into it just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. But we're going to start with this for the kind of like the base kind of really kind of pinky sort of purpley sort of base skin colour, and then we're going to work up from that one. So and we're also trying out some new brushes tonight as well. I bought a pack of these cheapy brushes. You'll remember I've been using these ones for quite some time now from Amazon. These ones came in a pack of how many is that? 9 brushes from a 000 up to a size 6. I think they're like £7 from Amazon, and that's what we're going to be using tonight as well. So I'll be using some of my older ones to mix the paints, and I'll be using some of the newer ones to lay the paints down. But yeah, I must admit I'm quite a fan of those cheap brushes at the moment. They've served me well for how much they cost and how long they last. I'm more than happy using those. Right, let me just wash that off there so we can get the lighter colour in. Rathbone has got a little bit of a kind of grey tinge to it as well, so nice to get this painted in as well. Where are we up to here? Peter says no beer tonight as he's painting a superior from I always, when I say SOB, I never think Sisters of Battles, I always think Sons of Bitches. They don't approve. Yoakum, good evening, mate. He says he's managed to set up one of the 3 display cabinets for his minis tonight. Now it's time to put a bit of paint on the Moor Crusher. It's a nice little reward for yourself, mate. Get some paint on the Moor Crusher. So I'll tell you what I'll do actually while we're just sitting chatting here, I might as well move this over while I'm mixing some in. I just need to get my little bottle of thinners here. Oops. Nearly throwing bottles around. TC Brain Train, I can understand wanting to get drunk because of LSU. Yeah, we've got the Rams back on again tomorrow night, and with hopefully a little bit more luck than we had at the weekend. BG says you should haul yourself out of bed. Get yourself up, buddy. Get yourself up. So yes, I've just put a little bit on the wet palette. I'm just kind of, because this is a one-off model, I haven't got to replicate this colour scheme again. I'm just kind of mixing these together to get a very kind of sort of pinky lilac-y sort of creamy colour. Just to put down as that, like I say, that's a kind of like the base layer of the skin colour. And then we'll work up from that. Bit of chicken skin. So, right. Where are we up to? Green Stuff Game says I'm on the fizzy pop personally. Nothing wrong with a bit of fizzy pop. The reason I'm not on the fizzy pop is I didn't have any fizzy pop in the house actually, and I've been drinking a lot of water and I fancied a bit of change, so I thought I'm going to treat myself to a 0% alcohol beer. Tyler Peck, good evening Tyler, how are you my friend? Says hope everyone is well. Blizzards are saying real Gollum, a metal gaming and a bit of Foundry keyword. Nice mate, you are smashing through the Malifaux stuff. Love to see what you've been painting. Or I should say, I love to see what you've been painting. That's what, because I always get to see it. Right, so we're just gonna layer this on. So this is a bit of a plucked chicken, and he's had a few bits of feathers kind of tied to him with bits of string and stuff. So he doesn't have a lot of actual feathers on him, and the ones he does are kind of tied on. You can see the rope around the middle here, which is held on. You can see the bits of ropes around his leg there, where he's got a few feathers kind of tucked in the side. The same here as well, tucked in. These ones are basically kind of like tucked into the back of the saddle, and the same here as well. A few tucked in round his mouth. So he's not so much of a feathered friend, more of a plucked chicken there. So yeah, we're just gonna put this on. Try not to get my head on the stream. I had a bit of a tidy up in the studio the other day, and I kind of like took the camera out and stuff like that, and moved the table and stuff to get everything like hoovered and cleaned and stuff. And I must admit, I had a right hassle getting the camera back in position for tonight. So if my head keeps drifting in, I do apologise. I haven't managed to get it exactly where I normally have it. We'll have to try. I was kind of running out of time tonight, so. And the reason I was running out of time was because I had everything set up except the cameras, and I had the Dead Zone 3rd edition starter set was very kindly sent out early to me from Mantic, and it arrived in the post today. So I was kind of opening that up and building up my GCPS models and getting a bit sidetracked on that, and then by the time I'd eaten dinner with the family, I was like, oh damn, I really better go and get them cameras set up. So yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic night, and it shouldn't have been really. But yeah, we're streaming, we're working, that's all we need to do. Palmsy's painting some Ultramarines, which are quite rare and hard to get. They might well be in Spain, mate, to be fair. They might well be, I think, yeah. From what I've been reading about like shipping containers, games companies trying to get shipping containers, and about how expensive things have become. It's crazy. I think it's saying like was it a 22 foot or a 16 foot container used to cost about £3,000, and they went up to about £5,000, and they've gradually kind of crept up, and some people are paying like sort of £19,000 to £22,000 for to ship a container now. And when you think about like some of those things are things like sort of Kickstarter games where people have already pledged and paid the money for them, and then these companies with the Kickstarters are finding out that the shipping costs are kind of way out of control, and they're having to go back and ask people for more money. And at that point, it's a bit late to say, actually, no, I just want my money back, thanks. The whole thing kind of comes crumbling down. So I'm personally a bit wary about getting involved in Kickstarters at all at the moment, because of all the different EU kind of charges and stuff that never seem to be very sort of obvious, the VAT charges. But then with all the shipping stuff at the minute, I think I'd personally be giving some Kickstarters a bit of a wide berth. But that's just me and my feelings. Peter saying fizzy's best when you want to get busy. Get busy with the fizzy. Eisenhorn, good evening, sir. How are you? Nice to see you in the chat this evening. VG says, go the triangle handle. I use those brushes all the time. Just wish I could find them in white Taklon instead of golden. To be honest, I tend to hold them like by the ferrule, so they stop rolling about on my desk, but I find that that's too high up. I find I get more control by kind of holding them down here. So that's I don't know why. Maybe I'm completely wrong with it, but I always just feel like I get more brush control holding them that way. So White Teflon is stiffer, so I find it easier to place paint with. I don't know what that is, mate. Is that a kind of, so is that the bristles? Is it the kind of acrylic bristles? And yeah, the concern the other night, mate, I hope everything's okay. I must admit, I never got a chance to message you yet to find out what had kind of gone on and stuff, but I hope your wife's okay, mate. I know you said she was out of hospital and she was home again, but it's a hell of a worrying time. I know from experience what it's like being stuck in A&E. So yeah, I hope everybody's well, mate, and I hope it's nothing too serious. Tizer is my favourite fizzy pop, says Palmsy. It's been years since I've had Tizer. It was something you used to see all the time when I was younger. A bit like Iron Brew, you don't see Iron Brew so much either. There we go, we're off the bacon chat and we're on to fizzy pops now. Maybe it was me seeing all the cheap pops when I was a kid when we had no money. Maybe that's what it was. The Panda Pops and the Roller Cola. So yeah, we're not being too careful here, folks. It's very much thinned down. We're going to have to do a few coats anyway. So we're just laying this on. Sticking it down and getting some colour onto it as a bit of a starting point. Andrew says Cardinals are legit though. Wife is mad since he used to be Texas Tech's coach. I tell you what, the Cardinals used to be kind of like my kind of second team, if you like, and because they were never doing that well. They were always kind of like I never thought of them as much of a kind of a threat to the Rams back then, when Bruce Arians was the coach and stuff. So I always kind of watch out for the Cardinals. But I tell you what, this year they're looking pretty good. Their quarterback, I forget his name now, but their quarterback looked super confident the other day. We didn't play awful so much. The Cardinals played well, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Cardinals have a really good season. I mean, they might. Only takes a couple of injuries, doesn't it? Or it takes a couple of bad games and it all comes crumbling down. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Right. Now let me just. I've got my reference picture here as well. I'm just double checking. So there is some up onto the neck as well. VG said, awesome to hear the Dead Zone 3 box arrived. Yes, mate. I was speaking to the guys at Mantic on Monday, and they were on Tuesday, sorry, and they were kind of apologising that apparently I was on a list to have it sent out. I was on two lists. I was on the list that Robert wrote, and I was on the list that Martin had wrote, and I think there was some confusion that people thought because it was on a different list it had already been sent out. So I didn't get included with the first batch, but they very quickly sent me one out, which is awesome. So yeah, I'll be getting to work on that. When you're lucky enough to get sent things which are like sort of before the release date, if you like, it makes sense to kind of push them up the queue a little bit and kind of deal with them as quick as you can, because that's when you get the bulk of your views, when people are kind of sort of chomping at the bit for information, or they're I'm not one for sort of unboxings. I find them a little bit like, well, everybody knows what's in the box because they've been following all the Mantic stuff or whatever. I tend not to do any unboxing stuff, but I try to kind of sort of come up with some more unique ways to show the stuff off. But first of all, I need to get them built. So that's what I've been doing this afternoon. I've got all the GCPS built up, ready to go. Just need to crack on. VJ saying, yeah, it's the synthetic material they make the bristles out of. I'm assuming the white ones, mate, must be the same stuff that GW made theirs out of. I've not used the GW synthetic brushes, but I think there was a really white, aren't there? I think the best thing for me to do is not really worry about being too neat and just get it on here. Worry about it later. and sort of tidy up as I paint the rest of the colours. Because I'm trying to get I'm trying to paint around things like the ropes and stuff like that, but I think there's more chance of me missing bits if I do that. I think I should just kind of slap it on and tidy up as I go. I'll tell you what, when you thin it down as much as this, it really does take some layers to get it on there. And I'm assuming it's not the most interesting thing to watch on screen either, because it's one of those things. If you were doing a painting tutorial, what you'd do is you'd get to this bit and you'd go, so just keep putting extra layers on until you get a nice coat, and then you'd cut away from that and edit all that bit out. When you're painting live, it's a little bit different, and it pushes me to paint a little bit differently. I'll be honest, when I'm painting live on stream, it pushes me to kind of not necessarily do my best work, but to kind of just to try and take some shortcuts and sort of get pigment on fast, which is why I use a lot of contrast paints on streams, because I find it pretty good for like base coats and stuff like that. And so it does kind of push me down a bit of a different path sometimes. Right, have I missed any bits off that chicken? Guess just a little bits around his head there. Tall Mod, good evening to you, mate. Green Stuff Game says Dandelion and Burdock will always be top dog at Fizzy Pop. Dandelion and Burdock is such a good drink. But was there ever like a branded Dandelion and Burdock? You know, like in the way that there's like, you know, obviously you get branded lemonades and stuff like that. Because Dandelion and Burdock always just feels like it was part of the cheap pop range. I do like a bit of Dandelion and Burdock. I do like sarsaparilla as well. I used to get sarsaparilla when I was a kid. When the Pop Man used to come around, I don't know if people I don't know if that's whether it's a northern thing or not, but we used to have like a pop delivery would come around on a Saturday. A bit like a milkman, but it was like a wagon full of like different flavour pops, and they would come and deliver your pop to the door. I've no idea if that was a northern thing or not, or if everybody had it. Andrew says, I think you just have a fetish for football teams that were once from St. Louis. Do you know what it is? Not my love of the Cardinals as such, but the fact that I followed them was they did a TV series a while ago, you know, the All or Nothing, the stuff that comes on either Netflix or Amazon, and they did one years ago with the Cardinals. I think it was the season, might have been when Bruce Arians retired, because he come back, hasn't he? And I watched that series. They did one about the Cowboys. I think they did one about the Rams as well. The year before Sean McVay came. But yeah, I quite like those shows. And I watched the one about the Cardinals, and I think that was why I kind of took them under my wing as my second team, kind of thing. Kyler Murray, that's the fella who was playing really well at the weekend. Yeah, he definitely had a good game. I don't watch him often enough to know whether that's kind of his usual standard, or if I assume the fact that they're 4-0 would suggest that they are. Right, that looks absolutely awful at the moment. I don't mind saying, but it's the first steps. So I think what we'll do is we'll let that dry a little bit, and then I think we might put a little bit of a wash over it just to give it some depth, and then we might just dry brush it up a little bit in some pinks and some purples and things, and just give it a bit of context a bit. So we'll put onto the main chat for a bit while that's drying. Let me catch up with the chat a little bit here. Hello James Army, how are you doing, fella? Ed saying I have some GW synthetic brushes. They're better than the normal ones. Yeah, I've not tried the synthetic ones, but To be honest, like I was going to say I would try them, but to be honest, for like £7 for 9 brushes for these ones, I'm quite happy just plugging away with them at the minute. Colin says, yeah, I can remember the pop man. I'm glad it wasn't just me. Tiberius says, my dad did a juice lorry, which was a pop lorry but Scottish. So there you go. Vijay saying, he used to have a soft drink delivery man over here in Australia when I was a kid, but I assumed they were the same weight as the milkman. Yeah, I guess kind of. I don't remember if it was like sort of cheap or expensive or anything like that, and did just like the sort of huge supermarkets just wipe them out kind of thing, a bit like they have with the milkman and stuff. But it was, I remember them like kind of like driving down our street on a Saturday afternoon, and it was like always like loads of like sort of young lads jumping off the back of this lorry carrying bottles of pop and collecting the empty glass bottles. You would hand back the empty glass bottles and get your new ones and stuff. But because I always remember we used to be out like playing like football in the street or riding about on our bikes and stuff, and we'd all have to get off the road while the pop wagon came down the road. Josie saying, my great uncle used to get dandelion and burdock from the pop man, and he used to come in glass bottles. Yeah, that's just what I'm saying there. Yeah, it's not just Northern. Fun fact: one of the brands that ran vans was called Corona. The one round my way was called Sykes. I think it was Sykes Pop, and they were like a local kind of sort of used to make. We used to call it pop as well. I don't know whether everybody calls it pop, but like fizzy pop like was like soda. I guess what the Americans would call it. James is saying, yeah, Kyle Murray's for real. Yeah, I think definitely, mate. Andrew saying, did not have my money on Urban Meyer getting fired for not working. I figured it would be hard problems. Yeah, that's what it was for, wasn't it? Bliss says, I've never seen a pop man here in the US, but we have ice cream trucks that drive around and sell various confectionaries. So we have ice cream man as well, like ice cream vans, and we still have them now, to a lesser extent. We certainly used to have them more when I was younger. But we've like over the years we obviously had a milkman who would bring milk and like sort of like fresh orange juice and bits and pieces like that. We had the pop deliveries when I was a kid. We had a fish and chip van that would sometimes come around on a Friday, and the guy sold sold fish and chips, like it was like cooked, like going to takeaway, going to chippy kind of thing, and they would come around with that. We had the ice cream van. We had the guy who would come round with like the video games. So like where you could rent out video games as well. And I'm going back to kind of like sort of Genesis, Mega Drive cartridges and stuff like that. So he would come round and you'd be able to kind of rent out a game for like a week, and then when he came back the next week, you would obviously hand it back in, and you might hire another one or something like that. So we had like a rental thing for video games. It just shows like how things have changed. So yeah, we kind of you don't really see those kind of sort of delivery type stuff anymore now. I guess everybody's just Amazon and supermarkets these days. James is doing fine. Hopefully some hobby time late at night, but hasn't been much the last few weeks. Sometimes it's just quite nice to just to chill, mate, have a little bit of a break and remember why you enjoy it, really. Tiberius is saying 10p returns. We used to collect the bottles when I was a kid and like take them back to the shop, like go around like sort of collecting glass, like where bottles that people had thrown away, collect them and take them back to the shop and then spend all the 10p returns on like sweets and stuff. Tasty Brindry says, never had soda delivery people in the States. Kind of wish we did. Tiberius is saying, we had Corona and Bon Accord. Bon Accord was who my old man worked for. Yeah, so it's definitely the same stuff. Tasty Brindry saying, pop here in certain parts of the States. Josie says, I don't know anything about sport, but I'm loving how much of this chat is about pop. It makes it, you can tell I'm having to be slightly healthier now, because normally we'd have talked about beers, about bacon sandwiches, pies, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm having to rein that in these days. Blizzard says a fish and chip van would be amazing. It was unbelievable. Yeah, VJ saying, wow, a fish and chip van, I want that in my life. I'm sure it only used to come round on a Friday. I think it obviously came round different nights in different areas, but round ours it came round on a Friday, and it was a nice kind of like treat type thing to like, oh, like the fish and chip van comes round, and I remember like sort of like queuing in the street, like waiting to kind of get fish and chips to take back to like my mum and dad's house. But yeah, it was a bit of a treat. We didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, so it was like a nice, like we didn't get takeaways. We never went and ate out. Like I didn't have McDonald's until I was kind of way older, and things like Pizza Hut was like a birthday treat. It wasn't like something like that you would just do because you were in town kind of thing. Things were very different. So when the fish and chip van came round, it was a rare treat. VG says, we have a local ice cream man who posts his route on Facebook and everyone knows him. Back in the day, I guess it wasn't like there was no Facebook and stuff, so it was a completely different thing of just. I don't think we ever like knew when he was coming. You would obviously just hear the music playing, and all the kids would run out. Palmsy said, "I'm old enough to remember a guy who came round renting VHS tapes in a van." Yeah, I think they might have been like a VHS tape guy as well. I'm assuming he probably had a nice little under the counter market with those as well. Got nicked for fencing stolen goods. I can imagine that's exactly the kind of thing that come around. But you saying Friday night is still fish and chip night even in my house as an adult. It's been that way since I was a kid. Yeah, I think it's traditionally, isn't it? Fridays are kind of like fish day. Like even my little boy, they have like fish for lunch on a Friday at school. And he's a bit fussy at the minute with food, but he looks forward to Fridays because he has fish for his lunch. Tiberius says, I got 3 ice cream vans on my street. 3. Normally they're quite, there's a bit of a kind of like mafia thing when it comes to ice cream vans and having a route. It's a bit like sort of window cleaners and stuff. Like they're very protective of their routes and stuff. So maybe it's just getting ready to sort of kick off with a bit of ice cream mafia fighting. It says, you're a child. I'm pretty sure you had to go to the smoke to get McDonald's when I was a kid. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing, mate. When I said I didn't have McDonald's and stuff when I was a kid, I don't even remember there being McDonald's. Yeah, I mean, I know McDonald's was a thing only because, like, I know how long it's been around, but I never remember seeing one when I was a kid. I never remember seeing one anywhere. Yeah, Friday is fish in his area. Damn it, now I'm hungry. And Ed's saying Friday's a fish day because a very long time ago this was a Catholic country. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing about you're supposed to have fish on Good Friday, aren't you? That's where it all kind of comes from, I think. Anyway, we're talking loads of hobby tonight, folks, aren't we? These ones always end up being random chats. So that looks like it's kind of dried enough. We're going to put a little bit of a wash on that just to give it some depth. And I think we'll probably go with... what to go with? I don't know whether to go with a little bit of sepia, or is that going to be a bit dark? That might be a bit dark, the sepia. What to go with? I don't want to go with crimson. That's going to be way too bright. Tell you what we might do. I think we'll go with the skeleton hold. And it's just to give it a little bit of depth, and then we'll kind of dry brush up from that. VJ saying nothing wrong with a round ball. It's just as well made. Most of my Wednesday night chats end up going down that path. It's why they're not very popular. But I'm all right with that. If I'm having a good time, then it's okay. If you're having a good time, it's even better. So let's we'll go with this skeleton horde contrast. We might thin it down as we go a little bit, because all I'm trying to do really is just give it a little bit of depth, and then we're going to put some kind of pinks and purples into it. We'll bring it up from that. It's looking more like a cooked chicken now. Certainly don't want it to be that kind of bright pink. The reason I'm putting the wash in now is because as soon as I've kind of done this, I'm going to start working on the actual gremlin itself while this stuff's drying. And actually I probably shouldn't, because if I'm going to dry brush, it's going to go everywhere. I might have to let that dry a bit. Facing camera's a bit blurry. Let me just get it to focus back in. There we go, mate. Is that better, mate? Yeah, Palmsy's saying Fridays are a big fish day in Spain as well because of the Catholic thing. Busey's saying Fridays turn into Fuel Friday, making you have enough for the weekend and the following week. We've been pretty lucky, mate. We've not really kind of seen the issues here. Either less folks have cars, so it's less of a problem, or people have just been a little bit kind of a bit more restrained. We've just been filling up as normal, really. Except, to be fair, I'm going away this weekend, so I think you might remember a while ago I was saying that I was taking my 2 oldest lads for kind of like for finishing their A levels and going away to uni and stuff. I was kind of taking them away for the weekend, but I was doing different things with each of them. So this weekend I'm taking my other son, my other eldest son, away for the weekend, and we're off to Thorpe Park for the the Fright nights, you know, like the Halloween Horror Night type things that they do. So we've got Saturday and Sunday in Thorpe Park and staying overnight. So I was looking at the map a couple of weeks ago to like looking at the drive, because obviously we have to drive down to Thorpe Park. It's a hell of a drive as well. It's like 5 or 6 hours drive, and I was looking at the map to see like where we're going to drive down on Friday night, stay somewhere close, and then kind of drive the last hour or whatever on Saturday morning into the park, and then do the full kind of 5 or 6 hour drive back on the Sunday. And then with all the fuel shortages and stuff like that, I was starting to worry about it a bit. So I looked to see how much a flight would be, and actually by the time I pay for fuel and pay for the hotel for the Friday night, and then obviously I have the car, so my wife has to get taxis while we're away for the weekend, it ends up cheaper to fly down. The flights were really, really cheap from London to Newcastle. So we're actually flying down on Saturday morning and flying back on Sunday evening now. So the plus side is I haven't got to do that 5 or 6 hour drive now, and I also don't have to worry about running out of fuel on the way down and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, winner chicken dinner. Where are we up to here? Stu McMurray says, doing a bit of dry brushing this evening. Was that a Guinness I saw, Blackjack? It's a Guinness 0%, mate. Non-alcoholic Guinness. But yes, it is Guinness. And it's very nice. Barry Kleiber, how are you doing, you rock legend? I saw that new picture that you've just changed on Facebook, mate. You look like a rock legend in that picture. Looks awesome, mate. If I had a picture of me looking like that, I'd be putting it for my Facebook profile as well. Damn right I would be. Right, so we'll just kind of wash that over a little bit just to give it a little bit of depth. And then what we'll do is we'll let that dry, and we'll come back and start putting some pinks and purples into the skin and stuff, and start to pick it out and lighten it up again. So happy with that. Andrew saying fish is a big thing in Louisiana, the most Catholic state. Not really a thing anywhere else. Interesting. Hello, Mr. Howell. How are you doing, sir? You're doing a bit more decorating the house? When I say decorating the house, you know, you obviously know what I mean. Painting up your diorama stuff. But it's just looking awesome. Every time I see it, I have to have double take. Like, why is somebody posting pictures of like decorating the house and the Facebook stuff? Yeah, seafood. I can imagine there's a lot of seafood over in the States as well. Busey says, no idea what's going on, but every day they keep showing petrol stations on Spanish TV news. I think it's still in the news here, and they're obviously kind of ranting about it because they're. I think down in the south of England, it's still a bit of a problem. But I think that's more to do with well, it's probably more to do with a million different things. But yeah, it was never really an issue around here too much. But because I'm going to the down south, obviously at the weekend, I was a bit worried about not getting there or not getting back. To be fair. Barry says fish Friday fish boils and fish fry big in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois. But he says on downside is no bonding time with the lad in the car. I'm realising how important that time is with my lad off to school next year. There is that, mate, but the other side of it is we actually get to spend, rather than me just kind of just driving the car and being stuck in traffic and him just want to sit and listen to his headphones and stuff. It means we'll go to the airport, we'll sit and have breakfast together, we'll be on the flight to London is like about 50 minutes. It's not very long at all. So it just means we'll have more time to spend together kind of doing stuff. So actually he's still coming over on Friday. We're going to get a takeaway on Friday night or something, or cook something nice. Actually, I think we're going to cook steak on Friday night as a bit of a nice meal before we go down. And then he's going to stay over after uni, and then Lou will take us to the airport on Saturday morning, and then we'll fly back Sunday tea time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. Tony says, hi, we're having the neighbours for dinner at Posh House. You shouldn't eat your neighbours. But that looks like the kind of house where you would where you would be eating your neighbours, to be fair, mate. Peter says, so you mean he doesn't have to listen to his dad yelling, "Are you blind, mate?" every 5 seconds? There's no sort of fear of getting cut off driving on British motorways, mate, because you don't get fast enough for anybody to cut in front of you. Joshua Hatch says, lockdowns are handled different ways by different folks. Lockdowns are handled different ways by different folks. I'm not sure. Have I missed something in the conversation there, mate? Vijay says, sounds like an awesome weekend, mate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. So we're, like I said, we fly down Saturday morning. It's like, I didn't realise till I looked at the map, but it's only like 7 miles away to the theme park from Heathrow. So we're just going to get a taxi from the airport to the theme park. So we'll get a taxi there. We'll get into the theme park. We're staying overnight in the theme park as well. So, and then on the Saturday evening, there's they do all like the horror mazes and stuff like that, and the kind of like the whole park's kind of scary stuff and that. There's already a Walking Dead ride and a Saw ride and stuff there, and then they've got all the kind of like the Fright Night stuff as well going on. So we'll have all that all night. We'll grab a bit of food and a couple of drinks. We'll stay overnight in the park as well, which will probably be pretty scary. And then it means we can have a bit of a lie-in. I'll kind of get up the next morning, have some breakfast. We get a full day in the park on the second day to kind of ride the rides and stuff. And then I think our flight's about like 7:30 or something like that, 8:30. So we've got like a full day. Josh was saying we've got him eating his neighbours. No, I realised what it meant, mate. Out of context, it was like, I'm not really sure what that means. Luke Pryor says, how do chickens? How do, mate? How you doing? Andrew saying, when you really want that Walking Dead game to feel authentic. Yeah, I tell you what, mate, it's... I love horror films. I love all that kind of stuff. I used to love when when I had money and didn't have young children. I used to love going over to Florida to the Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando, and I used to kind of do that quite often. And I love those kind of Halloween sort of theme park stuff. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've done anything like that. But so it's nice to kind of do it with the boy. Vijay says, looks like Aussies might be able to travel to Japan before, as a New South Welshman can go to Queensland. So the wife and I were talking about heading to Universal Park in Osaka over the coming summer. Is it the Universal Park that's got the Nintendo World in there, mate? Is that the one that's, or is Nintendo World just its own thing now? Green Stuff Games says, I went on a Walking Dead maze in Germany. It was the most terrifying 5 minutes of my life. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I remember going on the ones in Florida and stuff, and some of them are like themed to films and stuff like that, and some of them are like sort of like their own themes and stuff. Some of them were just like, I remember kind of like just almost walking through with my eyes closed, just kind of sort of holding on to the person in front, just like, get me through this. This is awful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's like I say, it's been a long time since I've done anything like that. And obviously taking my lad as well. I'm sure we'll have a couple of Dutch courages, I think, before we go and wander around the scary stuff. Yeah, Vijay saying, can't wait to hit Super Mario World. That's the one. Yeah, I thought I'd saw it on TV. I think they're bringing the Super Mario stuff across to Florida at some point in the near future. Is it called? Not Epic World or something like that. It's another Universal Park. I forget what it's called, but it's a new one that's doing it. Vijay saying that they've started work on Donkey Kong Land extension, but that won't be done for a couple of years. It's amazing because I mean I know how big kind of like Super Mario is and stuff like that, and Nintendo, but like to me, like Nintendo's never been that big to me personally. I've the only kind of Nintendo I think I've ever owned probably a Switch. I was never into Super Mario and all that stuff. Like I went from like Spectrums into like Sega when I was a kid, and I've always and I went from Sega into Sony PlayStation. So I've never really been in and around Nintendo stuff. But I think it's kind of lost on me just how huge it is really. I think that's Epic Universe. That's the one, mate. That's the fella. Right, is this? Just see if this is dry yet. I think we'll give that one a little bit longer. I'd normally get the hairdryer out and give it a bit of a drying off. James is saying, speaking of Halloween and Super Mario, my kid and I are dressing up as Mario and Luigi this year, and wife as Princess Peach. That is awesome, mate. My little boy wants to dress up as Jack Skellington this year. He told me today when I picked him up from school that I have to dress up as Oogie Boogie. For those that haven't seen The Nightmare Last Christmas, what was it called? The Nightmare Before Christmas, sorry. Yeah, he's the kind of like the sack man thing. So we'll see how that goes. VJ says, big Mario fan, but I love the art style more than anything else. It's the graphic designer in me. Yeah, I think being based on like sort of 8-bit, it's amazing how they brought those characters to life basically with what you could fit into those kind of those little grids. So I think what we'll do is I'll just dust this over and see if we've got any damp parts here. I think it's pretty much right. There's a little bit of damp there around the face, which is definitely kind of coming off on the brush. Luke said, anyone watching Squid Game? He's on the 3rd or 4th episode. It started a bit slow, but something happens and suddenly hooked. I haven't seen it yet, mate. I've seen everybody kind of raving about it and stuff. The problem with those sort of things is like when it's subtitles, I assume it's dubbed as well, is you have to kind of sort of really be paying attention to it. And the little one's been going to bed quite late. He's not been going to bed great recently, and obviously with me not being overly like sort of that well and stuff, I've been going to bed early as well. So I've almost been he's been going to bed. By the time he's settled down, I've been going to bed. So I've not really had a chance to kind of sit and watch anything of any substance really. So I've kind of been avoiding it for now. So I keep seeing all these videos all over YouTube about sort of how to survive Squid Games and how, the ending explained and all this. And I'm trying to avoid it all at the minute and see if I can get into it at some point. Tony says, did the Dracula experience in Whitby with his stepson 10 years ago, I end up scaring our cluster more than the jump scares. Some of the I've never done any of the Dracula stuff. Bear in mind, Whitby's not far away. I've never done any of that kind of like Dracula stuff. Let me just. What we'll do is we'll go with a bit of Gene Steeler purple here just to kind of bring it in. I've never done any of the Dracula stuff, but it's amazing to kind of think the history of that and the whole Bram Stoker stuff, and find that all fascinating. But yeah, I do like my horror films. So yeah, so all we're doing now is I'm just very, very lightly kind of dusting in some purples, and then we're going to go in with some lighter pink as well. And we're just trying to just kind of make it look like a little bit like kind of like raw chicken skin really. I don't want to use too many washes. I want to try and keep it quite sort of dry looking, if you like, and quite matte. He's saying he's managed to get the lad into it all now. He gets Mario everything so he can live vicariously. I think I posted photos of the wall decals in the Discord. I'm not sure I saw them, mate. My little boy's is banging into Minecraft at the minute. So he's got a cousin that's a little bit older than him. So my little boy's just turned 5 a couple of weeks ago. But his cousin's about 9, I think, 9 or 10. So he's kind of got into Minecraft through him. And he's absolutely loving playing Minecraft. So he's got like a Minecraft coat and a Minecraft lunchbox for school and stuff, and that kind of stuff. Well, he hasn't got a lunchbox now. Because he goes for school dinners now. He's got a Minecraft water bottle thing that he takes in, and he's got his Minecraft pajamas and stuff. He's banging to Minecraft. So he's been enjoying playing that. He still plays all his other stuff. He's Ben 10 stuff, and he's what's the other thing? Like Piggy on Roblox. If anybody's kids play that, he plays Roblox as well. So he's definitely getting into computer games and stuff. But it's not been because of me. He's kind of because I hardly play them these days. Although I did pick up a new one up recently that I've been playing. Just kind of when I've been sort of when I haven't been feeling great, I've been kind of tucked up in bed, and I've kind of been sitting with my laptop on on my legs and using my Xbox controller and just playing the game on my laptop actually. So, but yeah, he's definitely got the gamer in him, that's for sure. Luke's saying I'm watching it dubbed, which usually I don't like, but got used to it now. Yeah, I'm not overly a fan on watching stuff dubbed either, mate. Randomly, I don't know why. I don't know what it is. My wife watches quite a lot of foreign stuff, and she's quite happy to have it dubbed, but randomly she still puts the subtitles on as well. Yeah, I tend to prefer to what I never understand, and somebody might be able to explain this to me. So, for example, let's say this Squid Game is Korean. I don't know whether it's Korean or Japanese or whatever. Why when they dub them with English voices, do they use like English people or like as opposed to sort of like a Korean person speaking English? So at least you get the accent and stuff like that, which would then fit with the character on screen. I've never really understood that. It kind of takes me out of it a little bit. And I don't know why. I'd rather it was a Korean person speaking English with that kind of accent. It would make sense. Yeah, Luke's saying I think it's Korean. Yeah, I assumed it was Korean from seeing the trailers and stuff. But let's have a little scroll back here as well. Luke's saying the Dracula experience was a bit of a momentous moment in my childhood. I went on my own. I was 9, scared the crap out of me. I was hooked on Dracula since. John Estelle, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He says, just got in from a visit. Hope everyone is good. I am very good, mate. Thanks for asking. Lucy's calling say I want to paint some Star Wars Legion or Rumble Slam. Give us a quick vote, people. Oh, you've got to go Rumble Slam, mate. Get some Rumble Slam on the go. Tonight is not a serious Star Wars night, is it? Tonight is definitely for having a giggle about Rumble Slam stuff. So yeah, get the Rumble Slam out, buddy. So this looks terrible at the moment, but I have faith in the process. That when I just keep layering up the bits of colours and stuff, and I'll just keep prodding and poking with the brush, it'll it'll look less horrible. Let's go with a little bit of Fulgrim pink in there as well. Peter says my daughter is actually playing the Squid Game stuff on Roblox. Interesting, mate. My little boy's right into these piggy games, which are essentially almost like a scary version of Peppa Pig, where these piggies are trying to kind of catch you, and you're trying to escape from like a fairground or escape from a house or something like that. And I've kind of watched them to see whether it's kind of age appropriate or not. And it's like, that there's violence in it. It's cartoon violence in the same way if you was watching Tom and Jerry kind of thing. But it's he absolutely he loves the kind of the jump scares that you get in the game. When they kind of creep up on you and they kind of like obviously come like up close to the screen and like jump out at you a bit. He absolutely loves that. He kind of like, he gets a shock and then like laughs his head off. He loves those kind of jump scares. I think he takes after me in that respect. I think that's what I love about horrors and stuff like that. I quite like that kind of, that feeling of being scared in a safe environment, I think. Vijay's saying, yeah, Declan got Minecraft on the Switch yesterday, so he watches the videos on YouTube, but he got the shit as he couldn't figure out how to play it. So Dad's going to have to figure. I haven't got a clue, mate, honestly. Like I say, my little cousin, or my little nephew rather, Jackson's cousin, is kind of sort of taught him some of it, and my older lads have taught him a little bit as well, because he plays on his iPad. But yeah, I haven't got a clue. I've never really found Minecraft that interesting. So whenever he says to me, how do I do this? I'm like, I have no idea. So I'm trying to work out how do I save the game? How do I find the game that he's just saved and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's a good job he's got some young help, I think. Peter says Korean stuff is actually pretty good. Watch Train to Busan and The Peninsula. I love some of the Korean stuff. I used to love some of the kind of Korean horrors and stuff. There's something sort of inherently sort of authentic about watching it in the original language, and because a horror film isn't necessarily about the the text. It's about the atmosphere. It transfers over. Like I wouldn't necessarily want to watch like a Korean love story kind of thing, or a comedy if you like. I think something gets lost in translation a bit there. But when it comes to things like horrors and sort of that kind of thing, I think that they create a really creepy atmosphere. Right. Just managing to get a bit of pink into that as well there. I think we'll just very carefully just touch in with a little bit of that lilac that we started with as well. VG saying, for anyone who's into Universal monsters, check out Horrified. It's a great core board game. I've heard of that, mate, and I think they've also just done a Horrified version, which is kind of like American legends, like creatures, like a bit like Bigfoot and that kind of stuff. I'm sure they've just released that one, or these. I don't know if they've just released it. I've just heard about it. It might be years old, but I think there's a couple of versions. But I did see the Horrified board game in Waterstones, I think, when I was last in there looking at the board games. Right. So that might not look much at the minute, but once we come in and start picking out the feathers and stuff with the colours, that'll brighten that up. Let me just wash this brush out. I ran out of brush soap, so I had to treat myself to some of the Masters brush soap stuff. VJ saying, so you're saying Koreans are creepy. That's a bit racist. They do creep you well. I don't mean they're creepy. I mean they're masters when it comes to horror. That's all I need. Being called out on stream for being racist to Koreans by saying they're creepy. Yes. I meant they do creepy horrors very well. Where are we up to here? Tony's saying, speaking of Korean content, has anyone seen Sheep in the Island? It's young, kid-friendly, but 2 episodes are brilliant. I've never even heard of it, mate. Not even heard of it. Andrew says, Squid Game looks like in real life Fall Guys. I never saw Fall Guys either, like the game. I've got no idea what it's about. I remember it was the big thing, a bit like Among Us for a while. It was the big thing for a bit, but I must admit I've got no idea what it's about. But I assume once I've seen the Squid Game, it'll be something like that. I think I understand the basis of what Squid Game is about people kind of sort of competing in games to, 1, stay alive and 2, make money. But I'm not fully kind of versed. I've tried to avoid information, to be fair. Let's get some more tissue out. Peter saying, yeah, she played the piggy stuff quite a long time. Yeah, I checked the Squid Game Roblox stuff as well just to be sure, but it was pretty neutral. Parent right, that's the way, mate. That's the way. These are the things you have to do, don't you? You can't stop your kids doing the stuff, but you can, but like it's the zeitgeist, isn't it? Everybody's doing it. You just need to be comfortable with it yourself, really. That's what you need to do. Right, what colour should we do with the bits of feathers and stuff? I think we'll go with bits of blue and stuff for the feathers. So let's go with the contrast paint for the feathers and get some nice colours on them. Peppa Pig is bloody terrifying, especially the muddy puddles. Yeah, the US cryptid one is due out for Halloween, I believe. Cryptid one. Oh, that was one. Yeah, US one. I just play on Tabletop Simulator. I must admit, I always forget about Tabletop Simulator. Like, there's loads of people bring out Tabletop Simulator versions of like maybe 1 or 2 kind of scenarios for their board games and stuff, and I always forget to give them a try, really. Right, feathers. That's what I was doing, wasn't I? Just make sure I'm not get it on camera first and don't get my head in the way. So yeah, so I'm just going to paint over whatever's underneath them. I'm not going to kind of highlight them up to start with. I love the brightness of Talassar blue. But I am going to try and be a bit neater with these ones. I'm going to try some blues and some greens, I think. We'll maybe try and go greens on the edges, and we'll start with blues on the underneath ones here. Luke saying, yeah, there's a new version of American Legends for Horrified. Also by Ravensburger made a game on Alien, which is basically the same system as you play with Ripley. Ah, I never knew that, mate. I'm kind of a little bit out of touch when it comes to board game stuff. I used to kind of like... I used to cover it a lot more on the channel. I used to be a lot more bang up to date with what was happening in the board game world. And I'll be completely honest, Luke, and I don't know how you found this, mate. I tried to kind of get involved with the board game sort of community and stuff as it comes to like media and things, to try and kind of like sort of collaborate and work with people. And I actually found it quite kind of closed off, like almost not very welcoming. And I'm sure that's not the case for everybody. I'm sure it was just I obviously maybe tried to get involved with the wrong people. But I found the board game and kind of media side of things, I'm not suggesting all people who play board games are like this, but I found it really kind of tough to kind of break into. So I think that's why I drifted away from a lot of the board game and stuff. It's a lot more competitive when it comes to kind of sort of channels and stuff like that, and I don't know if people see each other as more of a threat. When it comes to tabletop stuff, there's probably so few of us actually that it's almost irrelevant. Nobody's really stealing views from each other. So yeah, it was a weird one. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm basically I'm a little bit out of touch when it comes to board games these days. Even though I still kind of play them with my wife and things, I tend to just be interested in the ones I'm interested in these days, and don't really look at it from a content perspective so much. Yeah, Stu saying Japanese horror is fantastic and hardly has any dialogue. It's just like the original kind of The Grudge, or Ju-on as it was called, the original ones and stuff were just so creepy with the little boy with a white face and stuff. It was just Japanese horror. Unbelievable. The problem is anything that's decent, they then remake it for like an English speaking audience, like a Hollywood film thing. And unfortunately, they're never quite as good. Like I think I can't remember if it's Japanese or Korean, but the horror film called The Audition is still one of my favourites. When I say favourites, I mean I think it's still one of the best. It's not like I could watch it all the time. It's brilliant. I just mean it's really well done. Read some Junji Ito stuff. Junji Ito, I don't know what that is, mate. I'll have to have a look at that. Basically, Hunger Games with cash prize, right? But darker. But I guess I know what you're saying, but there's a lot of stuff like that. So I mean, if you think, excuse me, even the Hunger Games is based upon Battle Royale, which I think is a Japanese film originally. And you've also got things like sort of the Running Man from years ago. So there's a few kind of things around that theme. But it's just interesting when they do something a little bit different. Which is this seems to have kind of caught the imagination a little bit for some reason. Get some of these blue feathers around here. Yeah, but it's playing simple kids games. I started watching the trailer last night, so I'm roughly aware of what the basic is. But then as soon as I as soon as I felt like I was starting to understand what it was about, I turned the trailer off so that I didn't spoil it. So, because I hate it sometimes when trailers for TV shows or films basically just show all the best bits. Right, so we've got a little bit of blue in there with the feathers. We need to do some of the feathers underneath here as well, just underneath the Get my head out the screen there. You don't need to see the top of my head needs a shave. You don't need to see that. We'll do a few of these underneath and then we'll come in with the green, I think, and brighten it up a little bit. Peter says, yeah, I used to go to a toy electronics shop and just watch the age ratings to get your kids appropriate games. These days, just press install on the tablet. And yeah, exactly, mate. That's exactly it. I mean, it's the same. I mean, obviously the little one, I say he's 5, but he's kind of quite sort of, he's tech savvy. Do you know what I mean? So he understands how to kind of sort of do more than the basics, I guess, for his age. And when he starts like watching stuff on YouTube and things, and like I always kind of have it on in the same room so I know what he's watching and things. But yeah, you just, I mean, it's dead easy for one thing to kind of like lead into something else, and before you know it, he's watching somebody playing Minecraft but with bad language in it or whatever. I know there's like a kind of like there's a kids version of YouTube, but a lot of the kind of Minecraft stuff and that he watches, which is still just aimed at kids, isn't necessarily in there to watch. Right, we'll go with the warp light, and I'm going with these nice bright colours to kind of brighten the whole thing up. But we'll sort of matte it back a little bit. But you're still playing a fair bit of Tabletop Simulator. Since you're under lockdown until Monday. I tell you what, mate, I was hearing something on the news about Australia and stuff and about the lockdowns. Luke says, if I got out of touch with board games, I think I get fired. Yeah, there is that, mate. There is that. Luke says, yeah, board game content creators are very clicky. All they do is slag off the ones not on their click and get massive resentment to each other. Yeah, I find it really a tough nut to crack into, mate, to be fair. Kyle Rowan, hello sir, how are you doing? Says Rooster's looking great so far. Yeah, it's getting there. It looks a bit rough at the minute, but there's a plan, Kyle. There's a plan. Please don't judge me too harshly yet. There's a plan to this, and it will come together. So, how are you, Kyle? How's things over in the US? I know you're kind of, is it Marietta? Is that where you're based over that way? I think I'm right in saying that. Where are we up to? Andrew said Ringu. Yeah, Ringu's good as well, mate. I do love a bit of Japanese horror. So yeah, so we've got this kind of horror thing at the weekend, and I have to admit, I'm both excited and looking forward to spending the weekend with my son, and slightly scared about what I'm going to walk into when it comes to this horror thing. So we'll see. Just kind of get a little bit of green in around here. Bring a bit of colour in, then we can tidy it up afterwards as well. Where are we up to? VJ said, for board games, I only really watch Dice Tower, Watch It Played, and a little Tantrum House. I tend not to watch so much kind of board game sort of channels so much on YouTube. I tend, like, if there's a particular board game I'm interested in, I'll kind of maybe search it out. But I don't, because like I say, I don't really keep up to date with it as much as I used to. I'm probably I probably don't watch as much. It's weird when I watch stuff now. I almost not so much for entertainment. I'm looking to kind of like, I'm researching. I'm looking to pick up. I'm either trying to find out information myself for my own videos. I'm trying to kind of, like, if I see something like the way somebody's filmed a certain way or they've got a certain shot and I want to try and replicate it, I watch it for that kind of stuff. It becomes really dull. I've stopped enjoying stuff just for the visual kind of enjoyment anymore. Right, what we're going to do next? Right, let's get some. We'll come in with a little bit of Wild Rider Red, I think, and we'll pick out some of the chest stuff, and we'll get back that way. It says there's certainly a snobbery in some parts of the board games community about tabletop players. It's weird, isn't it? Just at the end of the day, like, as long as somebody is having fun doing something, no matter whether it's board games, tabletop games, miniatures games, painting, D&D, whatever it is. If somebody's enjoying it, how can that possibly be like? How can that be wrong? Like it's not my job or anybody else's job to kind of to turn your nose up at how somebody else enjoys spending their free time. I kind of struggle with that. I don't know why. I don't know why that's a thing. Guess that's just life, isn't it? People like to tell other people how to have fun. Life's too short. Anyway, let's. We're going to pick. So they've got these kind of like sort of. I am no chicken expert or rooster expert, so I'm assuming there's technical terms for all of these parts of a rooster. So we'll just say the the hairy chest. Is the hairy chest a part of a rooster? But we'll pick those parts out. So this is always the bit that we're getting to that stage now, folks, that I always kind of cringe a little bit when I'm painting on stream. It's the bit where we're starting to get kind of base colours down. It's looking a bit higgledy-piggledy. I haven't done the bit where I've kind of pulled everything together yet. And this is the part where people will kind of tune in and go, oh, if I painted like that, I don't think I'd show anybody. But I've learned over the years that everybody has to go through this part when you're painting stuff. There's a point where it's almost a point of no return, where it's like it's gonna get worse before it gets better, and we're at that part. So yeah, we're gonna keep going. Get my head off the screen again. Yeah, we're gonna keep going. So don't judge me too harshly at this stage. Sometimes it's just around getting some colours in, and we pull it all together at a later date. But yeah, there's definitely there's always a point in painting miniatures where you think, oh, what have I done? This is awful. Yeah, and that's where we are. That's where we're at. Sorry about my headphones. I see I moved the camera the other day when I was having a tidy up, and I haven't quite got it back in the right place yet. I was looking for a bracket to kind of mount my camera from the ceiling above me, so that it's basically just always fixed in the same place. But I've not managed to find one that fits the bill just yet. So I think we're all right with that there. I think we're doing all right. So I think what will come in now is we'll go with a brown, and we're going to paint in the bits of rope and stuff like that as well, and start to border some things off a little bit. Let me scroll back a little bit and catch up on some of the chat here. Yeah, VJ saying when something's in the zeitgeist, I tend to not watch, then come back and watch it 6 months later to see if the hype was real. It's the contrarian in me. I like to kind of, I mean, it's nice to kind of watch something and see it take off. But by the same stretch, it's nice to, like, I think when I used to work in an office, let me just find the paint I'm looking for. Let's go with a Mournfang brown, I think, and we'll darken it from there and stuff. I think when I used to work in an office, there's almost, or I was on kind of like telephone conferences and stuff like that, there was always this kind of like almost a need to keep up with what's happening on TV kind of thing. What's the latest? Like, I think there was two things to keep involved in. When I worked in the factory, it was kind of keeping up with sport, and when I worked in the office, it was like what's on TV, what's everybody watching kind of thing. And it was almost, that was the kind of those water cooler moments, if you like. It might have been Game of Thrones. It might have been, I don't know. Obviously, I worked in marketing as well, so Love Island, as you can imagine, was a topic from some of the marketeers. So there was all that kind of stuff. But since I've been doing this on my own, and I don't really interact with anybody on a daily basis, I've become a bit isolated from stuff like that. So you lot keep me up to date with what's happening in the world. As I think I've said this before, a little while ago, I turned off all the news apps and stuff on my phone because it was getting pretty depressing. And I was just getting a daily kind of update of all the bad things that was happening in the world, and not really being able to offset that off with like kind of getting out and about and stuff. So when I turned all the kind of those news notifications off, and then I don't have that kind of that water cooler chat anymore, it's kind of weird. You become really kind of a little bit lost in the world a bit. So I'm looking forward to things beginning to get sort of back to normal. Let me just scroll back a little bit. Where were we up to here? Peter Cooman said, anyone looking for a movie I have on the background of a bit of a giggle? I watched Free Guy and found it good. My sister-in-law went to the cinema recently to watch Free Guy and said it was really, really good. She went with a friend of hers and she said she really enjoyed it. And then I was super surprised to see that it was just on Disney Plus the other day. It was just like, it wasn't on their premium subscription thing. It was just there to watch. So I think at some point, I think that's something me and my wife will probably watch because I've heard good things about it. I do like Ryan Reynolds as well, so he's worth a watch. Vijay says, my state hit 70% double vaxxed yesterday and should be at 80% in 2 or 3 weeks. So the end of the tunnel is in sight. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see some of those numbers cropping up now. I'm seeing it across sort of some states in America as well are starting to get to those kind of levels. The UK is obviously been chomping away as well, and we're getting to a point now where some people are starting to be offered sort of their booster jabs and third jabs and stuff. So it does feel like it feels like there's light at the end of the tunnel now of life getting back to near as normal as we can, which would be nice. There's a reason to the madness. That's right, mate. That's right. John said, I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a plan comes together, mate. It's just that sometimes it doesn't come together. Tonight, though, Matthew, it will come together. I've got absolute faith in the process. It's just like so. For example, where I've been kind of dry brushing these pink colours and things, it's picked out all of like the ropes and things, so it ends up just looking like a big kind of pink mess. But this is the bit where I kind of go back and sort of start to block in some of them bits of colours, and then it all starts to come together. I mean, as a reference point, I kind of did a similar thing with this one when I was painting it. So let me zoom in a little bit. He says moving the camera around. Not too close to focus. Be a little bit. Let's get out there where it focuses there. I did the same thing with this. Basically, it was just kind of just start to blend colours in with each other and pick them out, and I'm kind of happy with how that's come out. And like I said before at the start, basically I always leave the bases till the end, so when I come to paint all of the bases, basically all the bases will look the same. But yeah, I'm happy with how that one come out. Follow the process. Stick with it. Honestly, it'll come good. It'll come good. Zoom that out a little bit. Cool. Where are we up to here? Carl says, things are great down here in Atlanta. Very good, mate. I'm glad things are good. Jez Hunt, good evening, fella. How are you doing? Josie said, I'm still in my own personal lockdown because of my bad heart. So taking a chance to build 2 armies for Kings of War. I remember you saying, Josie, about your medical stuff. I hope everything's okay. I hope you're feeling, well, not feeling better, I guess is not the word, but I hope you're on the mend. Or you can be on the mend, I should say. Camo, good morning, mate. How are you doing? Peter saying, for board game stuff, I watch Rob. I assume you mean Robert Oren, do you, mate? Blizzard saying, I'm so looking forward to these riders. I've got a starter on pre-order, but mini market taking forever, it seems. I'm not entirely sure have they definitely been released yet? I know I'm hugely fortunate that the kind folks at Weird sent these over to me, so I got mine a bit earlier. I'm not entirely sure that they've been released yet. They might have been. I think they were coming out around Gen Con time. So But yeah, well, you can kind of see the difference now as you start to, just get this by a little bit, as you start to block in some of the areas. I'll take a photograph there. As you start to blot in some of the areas, you start to kind of, it starts to break up those big sort of dry brushed areas. And you start to block in the little borders and things in here. It does make a difference. It does make a difference, honestly. So, excuse me, I'll have a little drink. Where are we up to? Luke having a bit of a chat there. Peter says, I don't think technical terms apply to the killer giant roosters ridden by goblins. Gremlins, mate, gremlins. Peter says, you need an on-screen overlay that says, this is the ship, it's stay tuned. Yeah. Yeah, I just need a big thing that flashes up and saying, please keep watching. Honestly, I'm not as bad as this makes me look. Yeah, everybody does this when they're painting. Actually, it depends, because what I've seen is that I've seen some kind of pro painters who will focus, like let's say they focus on the face, and they will literally go to all the kind of, they'll really kind of layer it up, and they'll do all the details on just the face, and they'll get that looking perfect, and then they'll basically go on and do like another part of it. But if I do that, if I spend too long on one area and get it looking perfect, you can guarantee I'll nudge it with my brush or something like that while I'm going. So I tend to paint, as in I paint everything to a really kind of basic standard, get the colours in, block them in and stuff, and then I'll start to kind of build up from there. And I know that's potentially not the best way to do it, because obviously you try and get the hard to reach areas first and then build away from them. But I just find that if I try and concentrate too much on one area and spend all my time on it, you can guarantee I'm gonna nudge it with a brush or something like that, or something along them lines. So I like to kind of to do it all in steps, which is why when I paint, I get to that point where it's like, oh my god, that looks awful. What are you doing? Right, we'll paint this violin with the same brown, and then we'll obviously highlight it back up. So it's not the same brown eventually. But again, we're just blocking colours in, getting a base coat on it a bit. Andrew says maybe the hackles should be closer to the neck though. Yeah, I'm assuming fantasy roosters that you ride might have slightly different anatomies. I'm assuming. He says every mini goes through that phase. Yeah, Jess says I think of it as the dog shit event horizon. That point where things look like but just before the magic happens. That's how I will phrase it, mate. What I shouldn't say is, please stick with me. What I should be saying is this is the bit where the magic happens. Don't worry, folks. You're about to see wonders. I'm about to do a Chris. Is it Chris Ramsey? I'm about to do Chris Ramsey in there, do magic tricks in front of your very eyes. It just takes a while longer when you're doing it with a paintbrush. But yeah, it will get to that stage. So what's that hanging from? Oh, it's a cooking pot. Okay, so I know what that is. We've got some straps around these legs that we'll need to highlight up a little bit. I think we'll paint his trousers that brown as well, and again we'll highlight that up from there, but we'll just use this to get a base colour on. We'll start from there. We'll start build it up from that point. Stu says, man, Frottle's super clamps are great for securing cameras. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. The problem I've got is I've got nothing to secure it to. So I was looking to secure it to the ceiling, and the ceiling stuff are either they're not long enough to go up to the ceiling, and move the camera down to where I want it. I ordered a few different ones and ended up having to send them all back because none of them were suitable. So, and obviously, I mean, there is some kind of more professional gear as well, but it is super expensive. So, I kind of I've got it on a boom arm at the minute, on a boom arm with a sandbag weight and stuff like that, so it won't fall over. So I've got the next best thing. It's just the plan with this studio really was to get all the things off the floor. Basically, I don't want any tripods anywhere or kind of cables to be able to trip over. And I'm 90% of the way there. So when I'm doing the Monday night streams at the other end, all my cameras are all kind of rigged up to the point where there's no wires to trip over. Everything's kind of sort of hidden away and stuff. But when it comes to do the painting streams, it's a bit different because I need this overhead camera. And yeah, if I could get something to fix it to the ceiling, that would be perfect. But I've not come across something that does the job and is affordable yet. So, Josie saying my mini stay in that face. Camo says, how do you find the Malifaux scale? Are they a bit thinner than most other 32mm models? I don't think so, mate. I mean, some things are kind of like, some miniature ranges are generally a bit more heroic scale, but I find Malifaux stuff an absolute joy to paint. I find that there's loads of detail on them to the point where they kind of, it's really easy to see like what you're picking out and stuff. And I find they go together great. Don't really have any issues with joins and stuff. I mean, these ones actually came as single piece minis, so there wasn't anything to do on these. There was no building to do on this particular box set. But yeah, I don't find them small. I paint things like Infinity minis, GW minis, Mantic stuff, some War Cradle stuff. So I find it along the same lines. I guess it depends what you're used to. If you're used to painting things like, you know, the Conquest stuff, Parabellum stuff, if you're used to painting things at that scale, or maybe the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, you're used to painting at those scales, you might feel that these are a bit smaller, but compared to 90% of the games out there, no, they're exactly the same, mate, from a scale point of view. Right, got some on that side as well. Features, I guess I've worked for myself at home for so long, I just never kept up with it. I think that's the thing, mate. I mean, it's quite like I've worked sort of in offices and like sort of in factories and like out on the road and stuff like that, like my entire working life basically until the last 12 months. So working for myself and working on my own in this regard is still quite a new experience to me, and it's something I'm still kind of getting used to, really. And obviously lockdown come at a time where like I wanted to build networks. I wanted to get out and talk to people and create those networks where I could kind of sort of build up like a new community of folks to kind of to talk to and to call on for help and support and things like that, even just from a moral support point of view. And unfortunately that didn't really pan out because of lockdowns and things. I think fortunately what it did was it meant that basically people like yourself, VG, and the Patreon community and stuff like that, and they've ended up being my daily kind of my daily dose of real life, if you like. Right. I'll do for that. Let's get some silver on those pots and pans. So yeah, like I said before, I'm just kind of gradually just building up the colours really, and then we start to kind of layer and highlight and shade in bits and pieces. Where are we up to? Tiberius is saying Free Guy's incredible. Yeah, I've heard good stuff. Canon S has 3 colours, so some tidying and finishing to do. Nice one, Peter. BG says, I keep hearing about Free Guy, but I can't do Ryan Reynolds without the Deadpool mask. That just makes me think of Green Lantern. To be fair, Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds in every film he's ever in. Like, even in the Green Lantern, he is still just Ryan Reynolds. Like if you go back and see him in, what was that film that he was in? Years ago, where it was like set in like a college dorm. I forget now, some kind of sort of teenage comedy type thing. He pretty much plays him. Like, so as long as you like him, you know exactly what you're getting out of his films. A bit like The Rock in that regard. Like, there's a reason that these guys are kind of like some of the most popular actors in the world. I think The Rock's been the highest grossing actor, hasn't he, for like the last 2 or 3 years or something. I think there's a reason why they are. It's kind of what you see is what you get. Scroll down a bit here. I've watched Green Lantern and didn't know it was Deadpool guy. This is the colour blend of the rear leg on the left hand side of the pig is really nice. I'm really loving down there, mate. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm loving how that come out. So I'm trying to kind of keep away from washes as much as possible actually. Luke says the feeling when you start to pull it back together is a fabulous feeling. It is nice, isn't it? I'm miles away from that pulling it back together. And I think that the sad thing is when I'm doing these live streams, is I sometimes get to the point of just getting ready to pull it back together as I'm kind of running out of time on the stream. And what I don't want to do is kind of like rush it and get to that part. Yeah, rush it and start painting there. And so what happens is I end up doing that off camera and then showing a picture and people don't kind of see me doing that bit. What I might do sometime, and I tend to kind of mix up what I'm painting. What I might do sometime is basically follow up the next week and carry on at that same point. So at least you can kind of see a kind of start to finish process, if you like. I never know if that's what people want to see or whether they're even bothered about what I'm painting. Or they just coming to hang out, basically. Which I know is what most people are doing. So there's the pots and pans there. And again, like I say, we'll highlight those up and wash them down and dry brush them and stuff. Van Wilder, that's the one. Party Liaison, I couldn't remember what it was called. Let's have a little look here. I think the chat said he's had to scroll down on its own there. As I say, I'm seeing listings on eBay from reliable places. Maybe it is out, mate. I wasn't sure. I've had it for a little while, to be fair. Carl says, do you plan on having this Rooster hitting the Bayou Bash racetrack first or tossing him into the Frey and Malifaux? I think he'll probably be racing around the Bayou, I think, for the first time, mate. I'm enjoying playing that at the moment. I'm still trying to make the how to play video for that one. And my health stuff kind of got me sidetracked, so I'm getting back into it this week. Yeah, I think he's gonna hit the racetrack first, which I think is a nice little sideline usage for these as well, to be able to use them in the board game. I do like the little wooden meeples, mind. Are they still meeples when they're not people? Are they manimals? Is that what you would call them? Manimals? Yeah, they're awesome, mate. They're awesome. James says I'm the same way, getting things mostly done, then focus on details. Blizzard says the way I paint is blocking the main colours, wash, dry brush, detail shading. Tony said I do a lot of dioramas to detract from the fact my eyesight is shot and painting isn't too great. I tell you what, mate, I've stopped worrying about whether my painting's any good or not. As long as I'm enjoying it, that's kind of that's justification for me, basically. Did I enjoy painting it and done the right thing then? Right, we're gonna come with. Yeah. Let's start with. We're gonna come in with Screamer Pink to paint the. I don't know what it's called. I want to say like the plumage thing, but I don't think it's called that. I'm sure it's probably got a name. I bet Kyle's been doing some Rooster research when he was creating Bayou Bash. I bet there was some Rooster research there, mate. Is it called a plume? Is that the right name? Right, obviously it's not gonna end up being this colour, but this is the base of it to start working up from. Right, I'm going to have a little look at my reference picture here just to see. So it does kind of come down almost like a little bit of a hood, doesn't it? So we'll come right into here, right around. And the same on the other side as well. Make sure it's on camera, always helps. Looks like he just went to put Agrax on something and didn't realise it was snakebite leather. Luckily, a sopping wet brush causes the same effect. Yes. Contrast. To be honest, some of the contrast paints act like a wash. So like I used some skeleton horde on this one earlier on, and I think skeleton horde acts like a really good wash actually, as opposed to a paint. That's the thing with contrast paints, is they're a really useful tool if you know how to use them and when to use them. But then they're not the kind of like the magic savior I think they were originally kind of sort of marketed as. I see, yeah, Army Painter are coming out with what seems to be their own version soon. So it'll be interesting to see how different, how similar they are as well. So, right. We've got a lot of work to pull this together. But there's still a lot of stuff to do. V's in masts and arms done. Thinks he's calling that a win for today before the true paint those rope loops on the sails. I assume you must be painting some more and stuff, mate. 20 says you can call the loons in Patreon a dose of normal life. You'd be surprised, mate, yeah. It was Van Wilder, Peter Cooman, that's what I was thinking of, mate. Palmsy said, I can't enjoy Tom Cruise movies because he's such a weirdo. I like Tom Cruise. Like, I mean, not as a person. I've never met the lad, but I do always generally enjoy a Tom Cruise film. John says, oh, where was that one? That's my hobby done for tonight. Waiting for tomorrow and starting the Halflings. A nice one, mate. Ben Affleck. I quite like Ben Affleck as well. There's not many actors that where when I see them in a film I go, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. I don't really kind of like them. I'm trying to think if there is any, but I'm a really easygoing person. I generally am not that like. I don't dislike like a lot of things. Like there's obviously like there's games I don't play and stuff like that, and there's types of films I don't watch. But I tend to like to give things a bit of a try, and I rarely hate stuff, if you like. I can't. Beetroot. I'm not a fan of beetroot. That's probably about it. There's not much else in life that I'm like, I would actively kind of avoid. So, what colour do I want to do his beak? I think we'll go with the yellow beak as well, and then we'll start to blend that in as well and brighten that up. We'll get a basic colour on it. Block the colours in. And keep them coming. Where are we up to? Luke said, generally could not care less what you're paying. I'm here for the chat. Yeah, I generally think that's the purpose, really. I mean, this all kind of started was because, like, sort of during lockdown and stuff, I couldn't do a lot of the content that I wanted to do. People were stuck in the house. I thought we'd do something to give people to sort of get something to get everyone together, a bit of a community night every week, a bit of hobby and stuff, and that's generally how it started. So I mean, let's be honest, nobody's coming here to get painting tips. It's more just kind of like almost a meeting point for like-minded folks to come and hang out, really. It's a bit of a community thing. So yeah, I tend to not really worry too much. It's nice to kind of showcase some stuff I'm painting. Like, I mean, I'm not going to paint something I'm not interested in. So it's nice to kind of showcase bits that I want to paint. But it's an opportunity to just have a bit of fun, really. So yeah, it might be nice just to kind of to leave it until the following week and finish it off if you like. Andrew Firebank saying Vince Vaughn as Vince Vaughn, like character. Yeah. Kaz is definitely calling them manimals. Yeah. I was thinking, like, can you call them meeples when they're not peoples? They're not like mini people. They're definitely mini animals, so they're manimals. That's what we'll call them. Palmsy's going to watch the new Top Gun. The crest, is that what it's called? The crest? Andrew said, I realise sometimes you have to paint the big parts first, but I don't usually reach that level of paint and excitement until the base coat to the right colour. I think it's when I'm getting towards the end. When I'm getting towards the end and I can feel the ends in sight, I think that's when I get the rush of excitement. But the period up to that point is kind of it's a little bit of a zen process. Maybe not so much when I'm talking to folks. It's not quite as sort of zen and relaxing, but it's almost kind of switch your brain off a little bit and just go through the process. Just get the paint on. If you can push the brush around and just get stuff in roughly the right place, you're kind of halfway there, and then you start to kind of work on finishing things off later on. So that's generally the kind of the process that I'll go through. So these are just like bits of straw and stuff that's just been sort of stuffed into the bits of rope and things. So I'm just picking them out really so I can find them later. That's coming together. It's coming together a little bit anyway. We definitely need to work on the rooster skin and the feathers and things a little bit. It needs a little bit of blending into each other and stuff. Ed says it's a comb. I have heard it called a comb now that you mention it, mate. Peter saying the correct term is floppy my thingy. Yeah, Jez is saying it's a comb. There you go. All the rooster experts are coming in now. Rooster researchers, rooster search, or roosterch. You say when it comes to paint on stream, I know Adam keeps one project on stream and one off, so people can follow the whole process. We're pretty sure no one minds how you want to do it, mate. Yeah, I mean, when I'm painting off stream, I kind of paint other things. So I've got a whole raft of things that are kind of mid painting that I'm kind of just working on for myself and stuff. But when I'm painting on stream, I like to kind of try and mix up the different game systems and stuff, just because it interests different people to come and switch it on and see what I'm up to. But generally, I will only ever paint something that I want to paint for myself. Like, there's no point me just painting for the sake of the stream, if you like. Jez says, I'm busy drawing goblin-like creatures for a one-off RPG with some new players. Nice, mate. Is it an RPG you're creating yourself, mate, or are you just being the artist? Tony says, what's wrong with beetroot? I love them. The root strikes back. I think what it is, mate, I think I have a phobia of purple food. I think that's what it is. I don't think it's even the taste of beetroot, because I don't think I've ever actually tasted beetroot. I think it's like, you know, if you have like a salad sandwich and people put beetroot in it, and the beetroot turns the bread like purple, it proper freaks me out. And I think that's all it is. So yeah, I have a hatred of beetroot for that reason. But yeah, I think that's the only thing in life that I really hate. Ed's saying good night to you, mate. Hello, John Benham, how are you doing? He says he's dropping in while painting some Dead Zone. A nice choice, fella. John says, what's a comb? I've not seen one in the past 20 years. I'm glad I'm not alone in that, mate. I do need to shave my head. It's getting to that fluffy length. It needs a shave. That's for sure. Beetroot tastes like mud, but well, there you go. Even more reason not to try it, mate. It's the purple freaks me out. Right, we need to get some green on this. I think we need to get some green on the skin. I think we're going to come in. We're going to use Vulcan Green to get his sort of first skin coat down. Peter said he's never tasted mud. You've never lived, Peter. Get yourself a nice bit of mud, mate. That'll sort you out. Right, get a little bit on the wet palette. Thin it down. There we go. try beetroot. Yeah, you don't need to taste mud, just try beetroot, says Palmsy. Does anybody else have any kind of weird aversions to certain foods? Like I have a thing where basically I love chocolate. Obviously, I'm not an animal. I love chocolate, but I'm not a fan of chocolate flavored things. So I don't like chocolate ice cream, and I don't like chocolate milkshakes. Like I don't like chocolate flavored stuff. And like I like bananas, but I would never eat like sort of like banana cake or sort of banana ice cream or banana milkshake or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not a fat like even like sort of like coffee. Like I love a cup of coffee, but I wouldn't eat like a coffee and walnut cake. I don't like coffee flavored stuff. I don't like cold coffee because it doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes like cold coffee. So yeah, I do have some strange sort of food stuff like that. But yeah, generally, I'll try anything. Like I've eaten some weird foods over the years. Beetroot and cheese is a great sandwich. It turns the bread pink, mate. Pinky purple. It absolutely freaks me out. The idea of getting it on my fingers just scares me. John said, I can't touch ketchup or baked bean sauce. Wow. It's funny, my little boy absolutely loves ketchup and would have it on every piece of food that he ate. But my older lads like hate sauces. So they won't have any kind of sort of like mayonnaise, sort of burger sauce, ketchup, anything like that. They won't have anything like that on their foods. See how I've touched on the leg there with the green. That's exactly what I mean about why I don't kind of go to the extremes of highlighting everything up before I move on to something else. Now I'm having to try and clean it off. But the way I paint is I get the base colour down. I can always just paint over that again because it's just one flat colour at that point. Andrew said, I don't like gooey fruit chews. Dry fruit is absolutely fine though. Jess says, a simple set of rules, fairly basic plot with a few twists, everything you'd want for a first RPG. Drawing big NPCs as monsters. I like it, mate. I like that idea. Blizzard says, I despise tofu. I don't think I've ever had tofu, mate. I'd try it, but I don't think I've ever had it. Tony said, my oldest won't touch fruit. Even as a baby, he looked at you as if you were trying to kill him. One of my oldest lads went through a phase for like a long time, like sort of like 10, 15 years, where he wouldn't have anything that was wet on his food. So like he would eat mince, but he wouldn't have gravy with it. He wouldn't have gravy on like a Sunday dinner. He would just have like mashed potato and carrot and like a slice of meat and like a Yorkshire pudding. He wouldn't have pizza because he didn't want the tomato sauce on the base, and he wouldn't have any kind of like wet foods. He's kind of grown out of it now and he's fine, but it was a good 15 years that he wouldn't have them. Josh is saying, I literally eat almost anything. Had one cold cucumber soup that was just too weird for me, and then I'm picky about fish. Has to be real fresh or real well flavoured. Yeah, I must admit, I'm not that fussy when it comes to food. It's just that weird thing with beetroot and the weird thing with like flavoured stuff, like the artificial flavoured stuff. I've been trying to cut down on my salt intake as well, and I don't really like salt, so I don't put extra salt in foods and stuff. But when I've been looking to see how much salt is generally in food, it's unbelievable. So I've been trying to kind of massively cut down my salt intake, and it's been hard to cut out like things like having like a bacon sandwich, as you all know, is kind of one of my little kind of guilty pleasures. But yeah, the amount of salt in bread and the amount of salt in bacon does not make for a low salt diet. So now it's a once in a blue moon treat now. I'm never going to cut it out altogether, let's be honest. But yeah, it's a treat now. What was that one about there? Palmsy says, I only really like fast food and fry-ups. I only eat the other stuff because I have to. Yes, it's baked beans, absolute rank, smell like farts, and cabbage and sprouts for the same reason. John says brown sauce is absolutely final. Nothing wrong with brown sauce, mate. Nothing wrong with it. Peter loves a bit of bacon. Blizzard saying no love for beets either. Tony says I can't eat anything that's indigenous to water as it gives me anaphylactic shock. Is that right, mate? Is that honestly? Blizzard saying bacon's the best. John says what on earth have I tuned into? Is this the first time you've been to a Wednesday night, mate? This is the usual Wednesday night rubbish. What kind of colour should we do his hat? I think he's going to have to go with a brown hat, isn't he, I think? Let's go back with that brown and get some base colour down. Peter says, all right, he's calling it a day. He's up in 5.5 hours. Sleep well, mate, and I hope tomorrow goes well. Andrew's saying, kids both love fruit. Boy, twin, especially, neither of them will touch veggies. Yeah, my little boy's, he's not fussy with food so much. He's just like, if you give him the option, like he's like any kid, he'd rather have like chicken nuggets, sausages, like chips with ketchup. Like he's like any kid. If you give him the choice, that's what he'll eat. But he's been getting a little bit more fussy of late, and I think it's since he's been having school dinners. I don't really know kind of exactly what the options are for school dinners, but I don't know if that's why he's been a bit more fussy of late. Yeah. There you go. Where are we up to here? Blizzard saying, tune on an old bicycle tyre and you've got tofu. There's no salt in bacon, that's a lie. I wish that was the case, mate. Palmsy says, do you like a fishy on a little dishy? Only when the boat comes in, mate. Yeah, I do like seafood, actually. I've always kind of lived by the sea, and when I was a kid and stuff, like my dad had a lot of friends who were like sort of like sea fishermen, so we'd go down to the docks for them coming in and get like sort of get prawns and crabs and get fish and stuff, and so we quite often had like sort of like a lot of seafood and stuff when I was a kid, and I've always liked seafood, so yeah, I do like that. Peter says, I'm not very daring when it comes to food. Never had tofu. When I lived on my own, I wasn't very daring when it comes to food. I don't, I've said this before, I don't really enjoy sort of cooking or anything like that. I'm not somebody that's sort of somebody that would consider themselves a foodie in that respect. I like eating nice food, but I do not have any enjoyment from cooking itself. So when I lived on my own, when I was single, I had very, very limited palettes of things I would cook. A lot of ready meals. Food was definitely a kind of like a means to an end kind of thing. It's just something I had to do. I never enjoyed like when I was like sort of on my own. It's different, like my wife is a really good cook, which helps. So it means that when she's making meals at home and stuff like that, we have some fantastic meals, and she is really good. And I'm making an assumption here. She enjoys cooking. She actually she gets the enjoyment from it. I know a lot of you do. A lot of you lot do. Sorry, but yeah. So I wouldn't say I was fussy with food then, but I definitely didn't see it as an enjoyable thing. Anything that took me longer to cook than it did to eat, I felt that was kind of sort of not worth the hassle for me personally back then. It's funny how everyone's different, isn't it? Peter says, I had hot dogs for lunch today as an example. I had sushi for lunch today. My wife decided she wanted sushi, so she went out and bought sushi today. It was very nice. But see, like, if that had been me, like on my own, I'd have just had whatever was in the house. I might have even had like a bowl of cereal or something like that. Like, I wouldn't have like considered like sort of messing about with something. But like my wife was like, "Oh, do you fancy some sushi?" Well, I'm saying, "Yeah, okay, I'll have that." How we're doing for time? Well, we're doing all right. We're starting to come together now. It's starting to get to the bits where we'll start layering bits up, I think, soon, and start pulling bits together. He's got that bandolier around there, so we'll pick that out. There. Not quite sure what that is around his waist, if that's like a curled up rope or... Let me have a look on there, see if there's anything on the image here. Yeah, I think it's just meant to be a bit of rope curled up. We'll do that in brown. We'll do that in there. We'll bring that in. So yeah, it's starting to kind of... Now we're starting to get a bit of colours into it. It's looking a bit less garish. We've obviously still got a bit more work to do. I want to kind of lighten up some of that skin and stuff. It looks a little bit too pink at the minute. More pink than I want it to be anyway. Or it might need a little bit of wash or something in it to pick out some of that kind of chicken skin there. Right, I think we need a bit of white on that. Where are we up to? Tofu has to be marinated in something for a long time to make it palatable. Andrew says, you don't want to eat anything from the ocean. Fish go pooping after all. Go to Japan for good tofu. I'd love to go to Japan sometime, actually. Legitimate allergy to anything from water. Wow. It's weird, mate. I've never heard of that before. Vegan beer. I never knew this, mate. This is new news. Wait, isn't all beer vegan? No, mate. It's like all wine. Not all wine is vegan either. Josie says, what's with all the hate on tofu? It's my favourite. I've never had it. VC, I enjoy cooking something new once a week, and I do family pizza and taco Tuesdays. I enjoy like a barbecue or something like that, and like my brother-in-law has like a nice pizza oven, and I kind of like sort of like in that kind of social environment. I quite enjoy it. But I get no enjoyment from kind of just like standing in front of an oven or something. For you, I enjoy the presentation side. It's the designer artist to me. Just press it, fry it. It goes with anything. Camo says, is cereal technically soup? Ooh. That's a good question. I don't know. I've been eating kind of, it's not muesli, it's some kind of sort of oats and stuff, because like I say, I've been trying to cut down my salt intake and stuff like that, so I found a cereal that was super low in salt. So yeah, it's I've lost a bit of weight as well. I have been exercising a little bit, but not much. It's been mainly walking, because I've got to try and kind of not go overboard. So I've been doing a little bit of walking, but I've essentially been just cutting back on. I've obviously cut back on the booze a little bit. Not that I was drinking much anyway, but I've pretty much cut it out in all but the odd rare occasion. And like I say, I've been cutting back on salt, and I think by like almost unintentionally by cutting out foods which have high salt, or have quite a lot of salt in them, I've generally been cutting out foods which have like high fat and all that kind of stuff as well, and high carbs. So I think by proxy, really, I've been having a more balanced diet, which is then I've lost a bit of weight as well, which is a nice little side effect. So yeah, it's not going too shabby. Right. Let's have a look at this. Right, I need to do something with that skin now, and I can't think. It needs a bit of a wash, but I don't want to make it darker. I almost want to kind of... Tell you what I might have to do. I might have to just do a tiny bit of that dry brushing. with like a white or something like that, something a bit lighter, just to pick up the. Just to kind of take away the really brightness of the pink. I think that'll do it, that'll work. What are we saying here? Peter saying I did have sushi once. I don't think the one I had was properly cooked though. Blizzard says can't stand the taste, can't stand the texture. I'm assuming we're talking about tofu there. Blizzard saying sushi, I'm all over that. Blizzard saying cereal is a cold stew. There's a good debate. Did I eat crunchy nut soup for breakfast? Yeah. Look at all the tofu here tonight, eh? Yeah, I think I just need these pinks were just a little bit too bright. I think just need to take the edge off it. Which I think this seems to be doing just nicely. Yeah, I've never had it either, Tony. I've got no idea what it tastes like. Tofu is one of those foods that I like. It's synonymous with like vegetarians or vegans, and it doesn't appear to be something that like anybody who eats meat would ever touch, kind of thing. Like I wouldn't even know where to look for it in a supermarket. I wouldn't know what it looked like. I think it just looks like blocks of cheese. I think. How do I get to 45 now, almost 46 years old, and not really know what tofu is? Yeah, life's too short, that's why. That's better. This is starting to kind of like lighten up. It's taking some of that really harsh pinkness away from the skin there, which is good. Yeah, and then we can kind of blend the other stuff in. Awesome sauce. Right, we'll wash that brush out. So what's folks' plans then for the rest of the week? What's everybody up to? Anybody got any games planned this week? John, have you got a game arranged this week, mate? John said I got given tofu by my German exchange family and had to choke it all down. Yeah, it never sounds like a very English thing, does it? Stews, but seaweed. Tony says tofu is big with the Koreans and they have some awesome food. Yeah. So is scary horrors, mate. Does make them right. Fiji says, I love Japanese food, so I enjoy tofu, but I can see, given the attitude of some vegans, why so many normies would have the negative view. I think, mate, obviously Australia is a country surrounded by water, but like, and I think if I'm right in saying most Australians kind of live around the edge, don't they? They don't live in a big kind of hot bit in the middle. But because of the closeness to kind of like sort of the Far East and Japan and stuff, is there a lot of Japanese influence in Australian food, or is it just the fact that you have a lot of seafood and stuff? Andres is going to try and survive work. John says he's got a big game of Armada with Magic and Flyers against Dan. Oh, I look forward to hearing how you get on, mate, and seeing some pictures if you remember to take some. I do like seeing what people are playing. I've had a busy week again this week because Monday I was streaming. Tuesday, what did I do last night? I think I was in bed early because of my little boy. Tuesday I was busy. Wednesday I'm streaming. Thursday we got D&D. Friday, my boy's coming over because we're getting ready to jump on the plane on Saturday. Saturday we're away. Sunday we're away, and I get back late Sunday night. Back into streaming again Monday. It's just rolling on. I want to play some games, but honestly, I feel like I've not got 5 minutes to myself at the moment. Right, I think, folks. Actually, what I might do is I might call that painting. I'll call it for the night, I think. And then what I potentially might do is I might just leave that where it is and come back to it next Wednesday, so we can kind of finish it off and see it through at the end. Because what I would normally do is probably like sit another day and just finish it off, just to kind of show that I've finished it really. But we might leave that for another week and bring it up to that standard and get the two of them together. We might do that. So I think what we'll do is we'll go back to the main screen. I'll sit and have a chat with you folks, and I think I've still got that much of my alcohol-free beer left. Let's have a little look at the chat. Jezza said he's just working on an RPG. Nice one, fella. BG says, yeah, we live round the edge. I thought that was the case. He's got some leather work in the day at work. Have you got like a studio, or what would you call like a leather work place? Like you wouldn't. Like it's not like a foundry or something like that. Is there a name for like a leatherwork studio, mate? VG says, no, not really huge influence, just one of my personal passions. Ah, nice, mate. Says, my understanding that Oz has a huge Japanese contingent, and that's bound to affect the food. China's probably more culturally prominent. It's funny because I guess the UK is like, it's not renowned for its like for its flavors and its food and stuff like that, and its cuisine really. But there's a lot of like our national, randomly I think like our national dish is like chicken tikka masala. I think like we're quite sort of like curries are quite sort of prominent in English food. There's a lot of like Cantonese food. Like we would call like Chinese food, but really there's a lot of Cantonese food. We're starting to see more like sort of like Lebanese restaurants and things like that spring up, and you do get the odd, like I think there was a what was it? There was a restaurant in Newcastle I used to go to years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was. Mongolian restaurant, which was really nice. Tasty Brain Drain says, on Saturday hopefully we'll be having beer and pizza at a local brewery with a friend and hanging out with a group of friends on Sunday. I think I'll just come with you, mate. That sounds like a fab weekend. Beer and pizza. John says, is that Zero Guinness good? I like it, mate, honestly. I was just saying at the start of the stream, with all my health stuff going on, I've tried to just kind of cut back the best I can. And like I like a beer kind of sitting in the house at a night time kind of thing. I wouldn't say I drink a lot. I might have like one can, maybe like once or twice a week maximum. But I do like to just kind of, I like the taste of Guinness and stuff. But I've been trying to cut back. My brother-in-law bought me a couple of cans of the 0% stuff, and I was really surprised how nice it is. It tastes like Guinness, but it doesn't have it's got hardly any calories in it. Like it's got 75 calories in the whole can, 0 grams of salt. It's as healthy, I guess, as a drink type thing is. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, he basically bought, I think I mentioned this at the start of the stream, he bought me 2 cans of the Guinness Zero. He got me 2 cans of the Hogarten Zero, which I had last night, actually was really nice. He got me 2 cans of Nanny State, which is the, what's it called, the Brewdog alcohol-free stuff, which I've had. It was all right, but wasn't as nice as these. And he also got me 2 bottles of the alcohol-free Leffies as well, but I've not had those yet. Where are we up to? Moose says, I like tofu and beetroot. I eat pretty much anything. There's nothing wrong with that, mate. John says, we found a really good Chinese takeaway near us. It's so good. We had one from the village the day we moved in. It was inedible. It's weird, mate. I grew up with Chinese food. I think I've mentioned this before on stream, but I have there's Chinese people in my family who own Chinese restaurants. So my dad's sister, my auntie, obviously, married a guy from China, and he obviously moved over here, and they opened some restaurants and stuff. And then he obviously, the way it used to work years ago, I think, with Chinese culture, is they basically kind of they bring like sort of like friends and family members over to the country, and they put them up in work, and they basically train them how to work in the restaurant, and basically then give them the money to start their own restaurant. And the idea is they then do the same thing, and kind of repay the favor and keep it going. And it's how that kind of Chinese culture kind of supports each other. So yeah, so I grew up with kind of like with Chinese food. Like sort of, we used to go to like my grandmother's house, and her house wasn't far away from where their Chinese restaurant was. So they would kind of like pop round and bring food round and stuff like that. So I ate a lot of Chinese food when I was younger and stuff. But I find it now, it's really kind of like the takeaways and stuff near me. It's so salty. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's inedible, but like if I go to bed after having sort of Chinese food. Well, I say Chinese food, like I say it's generally Cantonese and it's takeaway stuff, but it is so salty, it really kind of like dries me out. So I tend not to have it very often, but it is my wife's favourite. Moose is saying Australian society, very multicultural, so we have access to a lot of different cuisines. Yeah, I guess we're a bit similar as well in that respect. I think it's just historical, like kind of mixtures of different cultures and stuff, I think. Jesse's got a workshop at home, but still down at that Lucasfilm TV series at the moment. Been here since April. I forgot you were away, mate. I forgot that. Finishes in December. I hope it's going good. John saying plenty of iron in Guinness. Yes, I don't know if there's much in the way of iron in the alcohol-free stuff. I've not managed to find that out yet. But yeah. But I've been given iron tablets now as well. So that's doing interesting things. Green Stuff Games saying playing Warcry on Zoom on Friday, and the rest of the week painting rats for Kings of War. Josie, sounds like you've got an awesome week planned. Tony saying, yeah, that's the impression I got. I was watching a bit of foodie programs and found Australian food chefs fascinating. It's interesting because a lot of the English sort of chefs and stuff tend to go abroad to study, don't they? Like they end up going off to Italy and to France and kind of travel around. Like a lot of what we would class as like famous British chefs all seem to kind of study under French kind of like head chefs and stuff in the past. But yeah, I would say that it tastes like Guinness, but not as heavy. So it's actually a little bit easier to drink. It's quite nice. Sunded Psych, hello mate. Says, as an Australian, I can vouch for our food. I would love to go to Australia one day. It's one of those things I think that like because it's such a long flight away, and obviously the kind of the jet lag and all that kind of stuff, it's something that when people do it from the UK, they try to make a bit of a longer trip of it and stuff. But it's just like I don't know why I've always wanted to go. Probably the weather's a big part of it. But yeah, I think I'd like to travel and stuff like that. It's just something that's probably out of my range now. Having a young one, and also not having the money I used to have either. So traveling around the world and stuff is probably something I won't necessarily get to do now. But who knows? Maybe in the future. Camo's off to work. Take care, mate. Nice to see you. Sunday Sykes is between me and VJ. You've got guys on the west and east coast. Whereabouts are you, Moose? Are you east or west? We'll get everybody giving us the Aussie lowdown now. So Peter saying I'm a bit out of focus. Is the camera playing funny buggers again? Is it? Let me just. That's it. If it suits. There we go. I think it's just. It must be just every now and again. It must just forget to readjust itself. Thank you, Peter, for giving me the nudge. So yeah, it sounds like you lot's got plenty of stuff on the pile of things to do this week. 20 says we got a bad reputation for our cuisine from the post-war through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. British cuisine had a renaissance, especially considered with extreme high regard. I think like you say, after the kind of like in the 70s and stuff, and after the Second World War, I think we essentially were pretty much kind of like meat and potatoes was pretty much our staple diet, wasn't it? I wouldn't be caught in London. I quite like London. I'm definitely more of a city person than I am kind of countryside type. Peter says, at least I got a chance to read the titles behind you. Yeah, there's a few there. Let me just there you go. If I lean over here, will it zoom in? Will it focus? See if it focuses. There we go. Focus there. So and it's back on me. Now it's working when I'm trying to show you. Yeah, I think all these were on the shelves when I did the kind of like the studio tour video thing. What I have got down beside me is the new Dead Zone book. So we've got the rule book and the force lists with the picture that kind of goes over the two books. So yeah, I was having a look at those before the stream started. Yeah, super interesting. Got some pretty nice artwork in there as well. Nice stuff. Nice to see that kind of stuff in there as well. All the information about the campaign stuff at the back of the book. In fact, let me might as well, while I go back to here, let's zoom out a little bit. Try not to show all the rubbish on the table. We've got how much can we get on camera? Yeah, so we've got the rule book here. See, there's some nice. We've got all like the scenarios and stuff. There's all the items. The rules themselves are actually not over that many pages. If I kind of show you, so you can see here. Let me try and get it so it's not. You can kind of see it there. So it's saying like the rules there from page 9 up to about page 25, and then there's some additional rules as well. The additional rules are kind of like edge case type stuff, things like fighting in half cubes and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in here. And then obviously we've got the force list book as well, which is a bit chunkier. And we've got all of the different forces in there. So we've got Asterians, Enforcers, Forge Fathers, GCPS, Marauders, Mason Labs, Nameless, Plague, Rebs, and Veerman. And then the way it's basically set up, so is you've got, if I take Mason Labs as an example, there is a section which has like some kind of background information is. You then have the faction lists, and then you have a nice little page with some nice painted models and stuff in. So yeah, it's really nice. I think over the years, Mantic continue to up the game when it comes to their different rule books and the presentation. They've really outdone themselves with these ones. Peter saying there, nice to see the effort they make on the book art. Yeah, Tony says, give me a couch in coastal storms over smog and overcrowding any times. I just quite like the energy that comes with sort of like a city and stuff like that. Marcus said, if I could travel, it would be a ruined and abandoned castle hopper, checking out historical things. The history of stuff doesn't really kind of like sort of interest me really. I think I like the kind of the energy of a city and the vibe of having like sort of hustle and bustle and stuff like that. Like I love New York, I love Las Vegas, London not quite so much, but I think it's almost a case of London is, it's weird. London just feels busy without feeling inviting, if that makes sense. Lucy's put his pre-order in for Dead Zone, base box and expansion terrain box. Nice one, mate. To be honest, mate, it's now having the box in front of me, you do get a decent amount of terrain in the box, but I think you'll definitely still want to have more in the long run. Josie saying, my Kings of War 3rd edition books arrived today. They look really good. The 3rd edition books are awesome. We've got the new what's it called? The Clash of Kings books coming out soon as well, isn't it? Which is just announced this week. So yeah, that's looking good. Anyway, folks, I think what we'll do is we'll call that a night. Thank you very much, everybody that's come and joined me. I'll be back again on Monday with another Monday night live stream. I've got some cool stuff getting lined up in the background. I've been chatting to a number of different people about about doing some interviews and stuff, and I've had some replies from some nice folks who are more than willing to do it. So we'll be getting some good stuff coming up. Sunday Sykes saying there, I'm assuming you've seen the Myth and Goal Kickstarter. What are your thoughts? I'm aware of it, mate, but I must admit it's not. It wasn't something that I felt the need to back. I've got Blitz Bowl that I don't get to the table nearly enough as it is. I don't really need another kind of sports game. I like Dread Ball from a sports version, but I don't know enough about it. I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, if I'm perfectly honest. Tizzy Brain say good night and thanks for the stream. Thank you very much, folks. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, everyone. I'll no doubt chat to you in the Patreon chat or maybe in the Facebook group. And if not, I'll see you on Monday on the live stream. So take care, folks, and have a fab weekend. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.